Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
The soul of physicality comes first in the creation of man, because the soul is not created to coordinate everything else. When you get the egg and the sperm, when they come together, they don't have enough energy from themselves to split. They gather that energy from the energy of the womb of the mother. In that process, you call it one chromosome is less or one chromosome is more. To the world of creation, that one creates a magnetic field difference that allows the motion of the fields. In the world of medicine, you always say, oh, this is man and that's that woman, and you have one chromosome. They don't understand. God doesn't know chromosomes. God understands the work of the transfer of energy. So the one which is one more is have more fields into it. By the law of the physics, in trying to bring balance between the two plasmas that become trinity, it creates a motion of the fields between the two. And that motion, because of the size of the egg and the sperm in the womb, absorbs energy from the field of the mother, from the field of the liquid within the womb of the mother. Now, more energy received. There is a certain size the bag can be. It explodes in a way, it divides. And then now you have 3 eggs. Now you have 4 eggs. Now it gets faster and faster. But there is no coherent condition. It's just single cells working together. They create a common denominator field. That's the soul of physicality. When it reaches to the point, when the totality in numbers increases to the point that now they can maintain life on their own, in a way, knowing who needs what first without just only absorbing from the mother womb energies, then the soul is created. Now there is independence, but the soul of physicality still operates because the cells are working together to divide. Soul becomes a coordinator. Who goes first? Who goes next? But each section starts working for itself. That's separation from the soul and the soul of physicality. Now we understand the process is got to be very easy to use the understanding of the soul of physicality and which part of it we use. In the present time, because you're not knowledgeable, we call it the soul of physicality, that's it. But in that soul of physicality sits the soul of kidney, sits the soul of lung, sits others which collectively they interact, they condition themselves for production of the physical life. And this is where the understanding has to come. Our doctors and scientists in the future will separate each soul separately. Just because you have magnetic field of the earth does not mean the condition of the earth applies the same whether on Mars or Jupiter. But collectively, as part of the system, they create the solar system, where the soul of it sits with the sun. Or even each one individually has his own soul, his own structure, his own weather. One day in the future, man will understand even the solar systems of us with all the planetary system is exactly like the body of the man. Some of our planetary system are absorbers of energy from the environment, play the game of the what we call the hydrogen. Some play the game of the nitrogen, and some play the game of oxygen, and at the same time they play the game of kidney and the liver. They dispose of the fields which are in the system, which is not needed, and they reject it into the what we call galaxy. There is no difference in the structure. This is how we develop the space technology. Look for which planetary system behaves as what you call the kidney or bladder, which rejects energy out. We go for that planetary system, we sit in it, and we decide which way we go out of. You try to get urine out of your heart is an impossibility. Every solar system, every planetary system, every galaxy, every universe has the same process. Extracting energy, taking energy in, recycling it, rejecting it, digesting it, is different part of the system. We have to understand. We just look at Jupiter and say, oh, it's sitting there. Jupiter has a specific job in recycling, absorbing energies, which then become usable to the sun. It's like the outer skins. On the skin of the man, we absorb vitamin D. In the outer, what we call planetary system, that's their job. How do we feed back energy through? We have not understood. We just call them planetary system. There is a Mars, there is a moon, because we never understood. At the moment, our Earth is part of the digestion system of the fields which arrive in. It's not just that we live and there is a planetary runs around. The Earth has its own solar physicality. The sun controls the soul of the whole system. But we are ignorant to the knowledge. We just say, oh, Jupiter goes that way, Saturn goes that way. But each one has a function. Creating the heartbeat, holding the heartbeat of the solar system. So now you have to understand where the physicality is started. You have to understand where the soul sits, and it's very easy then how to play the two together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 535th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 25th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this weekly series of workshops that's been ongoing regularly for over 10 years now. And we've had the pleasure of having Mr. Mehran Keshe as our presenter and teacher in these workshops. And I believe he is ready, willing, and able, as he says, to begin today's. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We are back here again, as usual, have been done for 534 other sessions to see what we know, what we get to know, and how much we know, and what we need to know more to be able to become man of space. In the intro, we heard about the creation of the central forces, which holds the body of the man together. And in a way, then it becomes a creator where itself was created out of interaction of the fields. We call it the soul of the man. In the structure of what we call the central energy, now we know some calculations done by some scientists to tell us that at the point of separation of the physicality and the soul of the man, something like 18 to 20 Hiroshima bomb energy will be released, which in that, what we call propulsion of the separation between the energy of the central body of the man, we call the soul, and the physicality, this soul, this time, is not get propelled by field forces of the propulsion or jet fuel, but it gets propelled into the space according to the strength of a field which has created inside, which holds within. But there comes the position to clarify more, where does it end? Where does this pack of energy, which is not burning fuel anymore, but using the universal magnetic fields through what we call the carbon-14 and what you call the other magnetic field elements, ends up to what shape it'll take? Do all end up in the same place, or do some end up in a specific position, and would some reach the point that they pass the unicos and become part of the structure of the soul of the creator, which self is created by? In understanding the law of the physics in respect to interaction of the fields of the plasma, according to the strength field of the body of the man, at the point of the release of the central energy, which in a way gets expelled into the space, and according to the field strength of the environment, be it the solar system, be it the earth, be it the galaxy, the universe, or the unicos, that energy will take its own dimension and position. Some will become that dust which rains back on earth, because through gravitational fields and dimension, they in fact get absorbed, attracted, and rain back on earth. They become another dust. This is what we call in the world of religion, the hell. The end which become part of nothing. Some become what we call the dust in the solar system. Then, as a point of reference, they become the seed of what we call possible meteorites and asteroids, and maybe the center of the future planetary system in the solar system. Some, due to the strength and the speed and strength of the fields which created that soul, become part of the galaxy. They become the seed for another soul of another structure like Earth, or they become dust of galaxies. All the meteorites and lights we see a material burning on the upper layers of the atmosphere of Earth do not come from the solar system itself. There are cosmosroids, which what we call cosmic rays, cosmic dust, which have penetrated through the solar system all the way and reach on their way to go to the sun, passing the Earth, they release their energy. In a coming time, the scientists, in understanding this, will bring that separation to us. They tell us which of these meteorites, which of these lights we see in the sky burning out is in essence from the solar system, and which one has entered the solar system through what we call our galaxy. And in some rare cases, if you are more on the outer boundary of a galaxy, what you receive from the universe enters into the galaxy, then it crosses the galaxy into the solar systems, and then the solar system can interact with a field of planetary system like Earth and create that meteorite. So what we see above us is not all what is of our solar system. Some is from galaxies and some from universe. There are materials of this in the hand of man. In some of the materials we have collected, we have cosmic objects, but we do not understand it. So that cosmic object could have been created by a soul of the man who left this planetary system millions of years ago. And in having the matching strength, has been attracted and then pulled in to the galaxy and then to the Earth, to the mother point. But when you listen to what we call cosmologists, they tell us that the solar system has hundreds of billions of stars. Planet Earth creates some of those stars, the seed of those stars. Maybe then the seed of some planetary system in them. Maybe some dust in these galaxies and in the solar systems has their origin as in the soul of the man. Then you understand how us as human beings, as we said many times before, we are the seeds of the creation. This is a greenhouse. And this greenhouse is needed to be able to replenish, recollect, divert, divide the fields of the galaxy and the universe and unicos back in itself, regeneration of the fields. In that process, now we understand in a deeper way how, if we understand the creation of this process, we do not need to die to release the field strength of the soul of the man, for the soul of the man to travel to another point dimension, to create another life and physicality in that place, time, and position. Then, if we understand this, how to control which strength, and according to our intelligence, to what strength, to what to match to, We will be able to transmute anywhere in the universe by the wish of the man, by the will of the man. In the world of physicality, when you sit in a car, you have a steering wheel. You turn it left, you turn it right. It turns right or left, decides where you want to go. In the dimension of the soul of the man, in transmutation, we have to learn how to play with the strength of fields of the soul of physicality of the brain of the man. What we call last time as electron. You call it the third eye, and somebody else call it the sixth chakra, and all the names we have created as we never understood for the interaction of the two halves of our brain with each other. Some of us can allow this to be outside. We can create a position to see further than its goal. Some of us, we cannot bring this third eye out to control the strength of it. And when we put you on these headphones, you will go nowhere. Because the strength of the physical structure of the brain of the man, the two halves, holds this dimension within the center. If man learns how to control this through the emotion of the man, and then how to produce it through the skull of the man, or even the brain structure of the man, then we become visionaries. Because now this material, fields, strength, not being in a matter state, but being in a plasma state, interacts with the other fields. It's literally like when you fall asleep and you dream. How to control the position and the strength of this, what we call atom structure of the soul of the man, and the field strength of the soul of the physicality of the brain, then you can travel, you can do everything you need, you can feed the physicality of the man through the same process. Understanding this, when it comes to the point of transmutation, you want to go to the moon, you strengthen the field of what you call the electron of this atom to the gravitational field forces of the, what we call the moon. Then at the same time as you add it up, and automatically is done, adjusted to a given specific field strength of the emotion on a specific point on the moon, you will land on that space and the spot. That's your steering wheel. That's the way through the interaction of the emotion. Desire to travel, which creates another dimension of emotion. You dictate your own transmutation. And when this cannot be reached, this is what I always say. We have your knowledge seekers using the headphones, and some of us always said in another teaching, we give the whole system to a knowledge seeker, give him the whole night and the next day, and he can't go anywhere. It's because the emotion feel the strength of that atom, which the controlling part of it is the electron, which is the interaction between the two parts of the soul of physicality of the brain of the man, cannot expand beyond. So there is no interaction with this environment to decide where to go, to decide what you want. And some of your knowledge seekers, because you're so emotional, you understand the emotion of the physicality, not the emotion that we see. We talk to the lady, and the minute you say something, she's emotional. Get the handkerchief out. Not that emotion. We're talking about emotion of the control of the fields of the body of the man in the dimension of the soul. Then you understand how to control. If you understood this, you can reverse this in the same process, that as the soul of the man interacts with this electron to bring it within the inner physical structure of the physicality of the brain of the man, you dictate what energies you absorb from the environment, from the universe, that being close on top of the neural system, on top of the spinal cord, feeds through the neural system energy control that it feeds the body of. If you look at the structure of the neural system of the body of the man, and the blood flow structure of the body of the man, which brings that oxygen to the structure of the body of the man, the dimension of physicality, you will see they match. Now you understand that the structure of your neural system, which is the dimension of the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man, through the interaction of the dimension of the physicality of the man, which comes through the blood of the man, create the dimension of the physicality of the man, where the interaction of the soul and the interaction of the soul of physicality of the man with their environment and the dimension of the fields of the soul leads to the creation of physicality of the man. So your neural system and your blood circulation system are part of the interaction, the reason you exist in this dimension. If you cut one, the other one can still convey the message through, to convert, to build. And if you understand this, now it makes clear that how I can regrow the amputated leg. The system, the structure behind the production of the whole structure of the leg of the man does not come by magic. It comes through the soul of the man, through the neural system, what you call the neural pulses. Part of the information going through the neural system of the man is to do with the physical information, and the other part is the soul information, energy of the universe, combination of the extraction of the fields, which leads to the feet of the man. At that point, your neural system becomes the provider of the energy for production of the cells, the bone, the nerves, and the tissues, and the rest. If neural system can feed the body to reproduce, to replace what's amputated, now you understand the same neural system, the same connection to the soul of the man, the same connection to the atomic structure of the soul and the soul of physicality of the brain of the man can feed the physicality of the man that the man does not need to kill. We put the food in the mouth of the man to create the weaker structure to pull the fields. But we bring that energy through the soul, through the neural system, that the interaction of what the physicality pulls with the energy of the soul of the man leads to creation of the physicality of the man in interaction with his environment. If you understand this, then you understand you only need to keep that structure within the soul, within the brain of the man, that you don't even need the brain of the man. So man can create controlling position, controlling system anywhere in the universe by understanding the structure of the release and interaction of the fields of the center point we call the neutron, and the what we call the electron, soul of physicality, of the physical structure of the man. If man understand this, then you understand how we even bring people out of coma and how we let the paralysis to heal. how we build, we reconstruct the structure of the neurosystem of a man. Now you understand that you need to understand the basic of the structure. And if you follow it, it comes back to the same circle, to the same structure. But you got to understand billions of souls are floating within the structure of this universe. And they give and they receive. And man can, in a way, become the receiver of those who are at the strength field of the comprehension, understanding, maturity of the soul. In the future, man will understand. When this maturity reaches a point that the soul of the man can connect to as many as the fields of the universe, is when the man will be able, as was born from the womb of the mother to this earth, and from separation of this earth into what we call the cosmos, become at that point the passenger of unicos. And if that elevation of the understanding of the work of the universe is gifted to the soul, then it becomes part of the soul of the Creator. This maturity can be in the structure of the infant. It can be achieved within the womb of the mother, or not even at the age of 100 in a physical dimension. Has no position and time, but has a strength field of the creation. And you touch that. If you achieve, if you become mature enough and feel the strength of understanding of the creation, you do not need no languages, and you do not need to serve, to give, to get, to receive, to elevate. But you are elevated in understanding the world of creation in the womb of the mother. Does not need a physical birth. Then you understand how the children of Mitra will, and most probably never need, to touch the dimension of the physical birth. And then we understand, in a coming time, as this process understood more, how those who love to be, to create the children of the universe, will become part of that process. Now, if one day, as I always say, the man scientists understand the teaching of past half an hour, they have opened the secret to the world of creation. Be it in the physical dimension, be it in the dimension of the what we call physicality of the universe, in the unicos, or even the creator himself. We have to understand, in the long run, we have no choice but to mature to this knowledge, but to open our understanding to this knowledge. And we have no choice. In a way, we are intellected. We reach the point of understanding, and that becomes what we call the second nature of the man. In tomorrow's session, we push some of you to reach that point, or at least feel that point, or try to understand the position of that point, where you will be able to control part of the emotional feeling of what we call that third point, that electron. What you call the third eye, what you call the chakra, number, what and what. We push you through your own structure. We create the environment for it, and then it's for you to take that step, to cross that line, to not only cross it, but understand the emotion you need to create, the emotion you need to feel, the emotion you have to be able to control and manage to reach to what you want. Do you want to bring that electron as close as possible to the soul of the man that it feels the physicality, or you want to put it so out that it feels the field of the creator? Now, it all become your responsibility. We are at driving the school, and we have brought you the car. It's you who has to learn which and to how much you can push the accelerator, where you have to apply the brake, how to steer your way in the mesh of the universal energy fields to get where you want. So, in a way, we have a school of the learners for the transmutation of the soul of the man, dimension of the energy of the man. And unfortunately, it's you who passes, turns the wrong turn, or he fails and it takes the wrong turn and he goes back to and he say, I felt nothing, because you haven't managed to control the fields of emotion of them. Go back 10 years ago when we started this teaching, when we did the what we call the health and that section with Dr. Elia Kostova. There wasn't a single session of the teachings that it was not referred to the emotion. Now you understand, after 10 years, how important that emotion is. It is not only for your dimension of physicality, but it's the key for man to become the transmuters of the universe. Now you understand why for past 10 or 15 years we've been explaining again and again emotion, even between the two layers of the skin of the man, the structure of the physicality of the kidney of the man and the rest of it. Emotion comes from the interaction between dimension of the soul of the physicality and the soul of the man. It's a control system between the two. If you manage to pass the energy of the soul of the man beyond the strength of the soul of the physicality of the man, man will not need dimension of physicality. As long as these two stay separate, the creator field, that field interacts with the environment of the man and leads to the creation of physicality of the man. Now, if you understand this, you use the soul of the man and the essence of the dimension of the field of universe. You use that emotion between the two halves of the brain of the man as what we call the essence of the soul of physicality, and you become the passenger of the universe in one instance. And then you decide where to position it in respect to the emotion that leads to manifestation of the physicality at the time, place, and the point in the universe. The emotion is the outcome of the interaction between the soul of physicality and soul of the mass. Another word, if you are so materialistic, for emotion is the mass. And when this mass interacts with the dimension of the fields of the planetary system, gains weight, becomes weight. The other word for the weight is the physicality of the man, where the interaction of the emotion of the soul of the physicality and the soul of the man, which creates that mass, that emotion, in interaction with the field of the earth, leads to the physicality of the man. In the dimension of physicality, we call it the mass of object. In the dimension of this, what we call the field of the man, we call it the emotion. And the interaction of these with the environment gives us that weight. You weigh 60 kilograms on Earth and 6 kilograms on the sun, or 10 kilograms on the moon. So on Earth, you look like this. On moon, the way changed, your physicality will change to create that physical emotion, interaction between the soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man, and the emotion they create in respect to the environment they are. Then you understand the physicality of the man, how we look on the moon, and how we look on the sun. Now you understand more what it means. And as I always say, man has chosen too many words for the same process because he never understood. He never understands. Until he doesn't understand this, man will suffer in this dimension of physicality. You got to understand how to use the point of physicality. One interesting point for you will come. We have a split brain on this planet. We create that third position. How do you create that emotion? That in interaction with the soul of the man will lead to the creation of the physicality when you have one system. The whole physical dimension of the emotion is one, and not in two halves. That's your dilemma at this point. But if you think slightly deeper, you look at the structure of the planetary Earth, you'll find your answer. How do planetary system create the soul of physicality, which ends up in the dimension of the solar system to the shape, the color, the moon, the mountains, and the rest which they contain. There is no difference between the emotion of the man and the mass of the system and the structure of the physicality which they create in interaction with the fields of their environment. One makes the body of the man, one makes the planetary system structure, and one makes the earth. The sooner the man becomes knowledgeable to this point, the sooner man will become the passenger of the universe. I made man in the image of myself. So how is the image of the creator created when itself follows the same principle? Then you understand how the creator is within you, where its fields interact with the field strength of the environment of the physicality of the man. Then you understand. I made man in the image of myself in interaction with the soul of its physicality and the soul of the man. The way you created your physical dimension in the interaction of the emotion with the what we call the field of this planet, the same way the structure of the physicality of the soul of the creator within the physicality of the man creates the essence of the birth of the soul of the creator within the man. The body of the man is the temple of creator. And one day man will understand. And that day is the promised day, when the man himself matures to understand the totality of the creation. There is no difference in any working of the systems of the universe. It's only man's lack of understanding which has divided, brought division, separation, and in so many ways, misunderstanding by himself or himself. If the soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man, within the dimension and direction of interaction leads to the creation of the kidney and the liver and the rest, and then in the interaction with the environment leads to the physical structure of the physicality of the man, then there is no doubt that the same fields in the environment of the body of the man with the interaction of the fields of the creator will embed within it the soul of the creator, which manifests itself in the dimension of physicality of the man. But still is that separation. And when we take the dimension of physicality of the man away at the point of death or the transmutation, where does that soul of the creator interact with that leads to the creation of the new life? With the interaction of the fields of that atom. I hope you understand the meaning of the teachings. And I hope you've been enlightened to understand man does not need to eat. Man does not need to create mayhem. Man does not need any structure, as every structure is different and it depends how you want to manifest yourself. And then you understand the true meaning of I made man in the image of myself, as the interaction of me within the structure of the emotion of the man leads to the creation of me. Then man will become mature to become part of the universal community, which this universe itself is created by the essence of the emotion of the creator. Man only creates the dimension of the fields for it to manifest itself. And he gives its own dimension. And this is the riddle that the books of the man always been looking for. And maybe today you have found the answer. And if not, you're still in the old rooms of the weight and the mess. And you're in a big mess. Now you understand. The totality of knowledge. I made man in the image of myself. As I'm creator of that image. In the dimension of the emotion of the man, which is created in the dimension of the physicality and the soul, the strength of the field of the man, which man controls through the strength of his own structure and the field of the emotion of his own brain. For you as knowledge seekers, finding that point and how to use it to feed the physicality and at the same time move it out to become part of the universal community for you to transmute will become the next step of the evolution of science and technology, of the understanding of the world of creation. And the burden of teaching is on you for yourself, not others to teach you. And if you haven't understood the essence of the teaching of today, carry on with your own physical dimension of life. As we gave you the key to universal existence. As you understand where I go, He is within me as I am within Him. And the existence of me allows manifestation of the love of Him. I hope as knowledge seekers you understand the light of the knowledge and the enlightenment. Otherwise you still be reading the books which is full of fallacy and trying to keep you away from understanding the truth about yourself. We go for a break and we come back and we answer any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. All right, this is the 535th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 25th, and we will be back shortly.
The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here.
Okay, we're back again at the 535th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And this is the second half. And because it's the second half, we have the opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. And we have several already in the Q&A. And our participants here in the Zoom are welcome to put questions in the Q&A or put up your virtual hand, and we can open the microphone so you can ask a question personally. And otherwise, those in the YouTube can put a question into the chat there. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to proceed?
Yes. No problem. There are a couple of announcements usually we do in the second half. One is that tomorrow's session will be held at 9 o'clock. And don't forget to have your experiences since last time during the session or after the session or during the time between there and now to put up on the chat if you feel like it, if you felt anything or you understood or you felt changes. And tomorrow's experiment is further development of this. Again, is 9 to 5. With this session, you can join anytime and leave anytime. It's not like last time we kept you in for the whole session. And we take step by step. We got 2 more sessions left of this cycle to complete for what we call the next step. From the July onward sessions is the preparation for the ultimate goal, which will be shown in Washington, in Transmutation, where we show the physical dimension of transportation in Iran, in Isfahan. Many of you asking you want to register for Isfahan. Once we have the agreements and the approval and what we call license from the Iranian authorities, in holding the session in Isfahan completed, we'll make the announcement. And please tell them, because many of you are making a lot of comments, you want to come, you want to join. We understand that, but Iran is the same as China. It's not like in Europe that you can hold conferences wherever, whatever, whenever you want to do. We need to receive the permission from first Iranian military, as we will displaying a flight system which will interact with Iran, what we call military defense system. We have to create a condition where, by showing the flight system in Isfahan, which is the center of Iran nuclear, what we call space defense center, we do not make Iran vulnerable during the conference. Or we provide the supporting facilities to cover for the military while the conference goes on in a space defense over the city of Isfahan. It's much more complicated than you understand. It's not a normal conference. We are setting out to show the first flight system through gravitational system, and we have to make sure that security of national integrity of the space of Iran is kept, not just because we want to show something. So Iranian military, more or less, is aware of this presentation. Our documents, I think, has been handed over for approval. It will take some time. Then we have to get approval of, I'm sure, the Office of Iranian Leadership. Then is allowing so many people to attend the conference. We have a target, and we know many scientists from around the world will be in this conference. In China, those of you who were present met and sat next to some of the leading scientists of China and military officers. These things does not happen, and it happens only when Keshe Foundation displays, shows technology, because the trust has been built and understood, and many laws is changed for the military people to be amongst the normal scientists. At the same time, many of the scientists you'll meet in Iran, they will not introduce themselves as who they are. they will be given what we call protecting identity, being on the military rank or the scientist, that we protect the national interest of Iran. So you have to understand, we don't play the game of Ahmadinejad to keep the name of our scientists to you and the others who are there to fingerprint for their future. We protect our scientists and our military officers. We are there to show the change, but at the same time, we are there to protect the nation. And to that effect, you understand, the conference Iran is a turning point for science and technology, but at the same time, as Isfahan is the center of Iran nuclear and defense center, and some of the most, what we call, research centers are around the city, we have to protect and achieve and reach agreement with the Iranian Ministry of Defense. And all this done is getting done by our people in Iran to arrange such a facility. The price will not change. We might actually increase the price because of the other factors which comes into it. But at the moment for that conference, that's at $12,500 for knowledge seekers. Government officials, scientists from outside Iran will be charged a minimum $25,000 to $50,000 to have a seat in that conference. You have to understand all these expenses goes as part of the security and the rest, which brings into play Iranian nationals who will attend this conference will abide by the same rules, and we follow how, and we can get clearance for them to attend. We announce all of those who will attend the conference in Iran to supply full details of their background, nationality, and the rest that Iran National Security can check in detail before allowing for us to accept you to be part of the conference. It's much harder than what we call the conference in Sanya. Security is tighter, and every avenue will be reached to make secure but show the technology. Then we follow with the transmutation in Washington. Hopefully in the early next year, once the new, what we call, government is settled in Washington, and if we don't achieve agreement with the Washington authorities, we'll show the technology in Moscow. We have no hesitation. It's time to show transmutation. And if we do not achieve agreement with the American authorities for the display of the transmutation, we'll move the conference into Moscow, which we have a solid ground background support. The other point to mention, since we announced the closure of the Keshe Foundation structure and selling of all our materials, many of you knowledge seekers have asked to become like the shops, not distributors on the line, but you're offering your premises, a part of your premises, to become the distribution and the sale point of the Keshe Foundation goods, which means we move our shops to your shop. With this, as I announced before, in the coming months and years, some 30,000 products of the Keshe Foundation, through collaboration with the commercials, will be coming into display and coming forth. Those of you who take these kind of agreements with us, you'll become, and you can apply to become the distributors of these 50,000 new items, which will appear as part of the products of the Keshe Foundation in coming time. Household goods, whiteware goods, agricultural goods, all in a way your distribution agreement sale with Keshe Foundation will allow you to become distributor for these new products. It could be anything which now we are in the process of negotiation, development, and will come out as a retail product. So automatically, you become part of the much, much bigger structure with some of the major, what we call, companies in the world in the background, and in a way you become another branch of their branch. But all is Keshe Foundation technology embedded within it, It's not something that you sell from their product. It's something which uses the plasma technology and the technology of the Keshe Foundation. And then in the future, very near future, all the tickets, what we call transportation, health programs, everything else is part of the package which you take. We have a number of knowledge specialists who also attended Sanya conference, and others are asking for opening shops of the Keshe Foundation in the structure of the shops and restaurants and the others. We welcome it, we're supporting it, but you've got to understand this is the beginning for you to do, but if you wish, you can become part of the bigger structure of the products, which now with a partnership with our, what we call associates, will come into the market. All we need, we just ask them to add you into that list of retailers. Are there any questions?
Oh, yes, we've got some questions lined up here. We got several.
Oh, no, we're not answering.
Okay. And we'll just have a session of only questions and no answers. Silence.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe that's the way to do it. It works with your system. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Okay. So in YouTube, Dennis says, what happens when my brain has been activated? What happens to the soul? Where is it taken? Where is it taken?
I wonder, when did you consider your brain was activated? And what you call as activated brain? Your brain from the time of inception is activated. So which part you like to know? When you say, when my brain is activated, your brain's always been active. That's how it was created and how it maintains itself. Yeah, aware of this process, and some of you know this process of interaction. Some of you have felt it. Some of you have used it. Some of you have received some answers to your problems. Some of you come to a position of the conclusion of understanding due to this fact of the interaction. Many of you during your lifetime reach or find an answer to something, and you call it in your dreams. You call it enlightenment when you're asleep, or it happens during the daytime. This happens primarily through where the two half of your brain switch over operation, and in that flash of handover, if the part of the structure of the memory or work which you were analyzing on the left side matches to the right side, which is taking over the operation of the body control, interaction of those two fields creates the emotion and knowledge. You don't switch operation of the brain only during the sleep time. It happens during the day, your awakeness as well. Because even during the awakeness, part of the brain takes off, the other part takes on. And one is less control of the other, everything else on the other. And when one side wakes up, it wakes the other side, we have to all respond. So we know this, and it's for us to understand when to control it. And then you have this combination of the fields between transformation and switching between the organs as well, between the kidneys, between the ovaries, between the different chambers of the heart, between different chambers of the lung, left and right, and the rest of it. And this switch of emotion, if you understand, due to the operation of the switching of the left to the right side, is where the emotion in crossing the point of physicality transfers the emotion into physical condition, which is the main cause of the cancer, psychosomatic. Because one physicality is handing over to another physicality where the emotion is transferring at the same time with it. So the energy, the field strength of the emotion touches the field strength of the soul of physicality and physicality of the man. And this is the main point. This switching point of the brain in operation is where most of the psychosomatic diseases manifest themselves, where the emotion is switching over, touches the line of the physicality of the body of the man and embeds in it. We know this 100% correct because we've seen it in the operation of fibromyalgia. The point of abuse, sexual, physical, happens at the time when the two halves of the brain are switching. The emotion is there, physicality is switching at the same time as the emotion, and it embeds into it, and it becomes the pain in the body of the man. We understand the source, the way, what we call psychosomatic comes. It's the first time I explain this, and it's unknown to the world of medicine. The reason you get people who get abused physically and they show no fibromyalgia because they enjoy it. Those who don't want to be part of it, emotion is acceptable for a man to touch them physically at a young age. Emotion, what they've been brought up, does not accept. And there comes the time of the switch, of the 4-hour switch, 5-hour switch, at the same time, this embeds into the physical body. And then it shows itself at a pain later stage. When you mature and you know what was done is wrong and you cannot accept the dimension of physicality, it hits you. Become fibromyalgia, become CVS and MS and the rest of it. If our scientists understand this, we can remedy all diseases of the man, which is psychosomatic. Position of the shift of the emotion, rest time we call it, between the physical side, two sides of the brain of the man. Then we enter a new dimension of science. This is why the technology of the Keshe Foundation is so effective with the headphones, with the units which I used to build in the past. Because we make one from the brain of the man. There is no switch time. So that allows the physical side to emotional side to balance each other out. It's not just we give you a headphone. I understand every intricacy about the creation of the man in the dimension of the emotion, physicality, and the soul. I'm a master in what I do because I understand every part of it. And this is why we can deliver a system which can restructure a brain. We put you on the machine. We give you systems to overcome your depression, your FMS or fibromyalgia. But it's you who blocks it. Because ketamine is part of it. Look at the people who are psychologically abused. Look at the people who are physically abused. Look at the people who are sexually abused. The one who get fat, big bodies, are the one who could not accept. Psychosomatically, if I'm bigger, the guy can't touch me. So I become fat. I become ugly. I can do, the cockfights, they blow themselves up. That's a cockfight between soul of physicality, emotion of the man, and physicality of the man. And you go into a restaurant, you go walk on the street, find a father and a son, and you see the son is massive compared to the father. That's the abusive father. And because he is abusive, the son grows to show, I'm somebody. Doesn't matter, you're older. Walk with the women who are sexually abused. Those who enjoy it become prostitutes, slim and thin, because to them it was an abuse. It's another way of pleasure. You put another sister in the family which does not accept the abuse. Psychosomatic depression, big body, fat. Abused by the same men, but to a state of physicality, emotion. The one who enjoys it, become part of it, slays a slim pencil, because it's what I enjoy. I control men through their emotion. The one who abused and cannot accept, you see it massive. I've seen many sisters like this. And you see them next to each other. And when I speak to them, they say, how do you know? The one who enjoys it, the one who became part of it, finding he can control men or whatever with it, that's the pleasure they get, they stay very slim. The other sister is massive. You can put 4 or 5 of the other sister in it. This is where the soul and the emotion cannot match. And if the world of science understand the balancing of the psychosomatic comes within the structure of the brain of the man during the 2 rest times, 90% of the illnesses on this planet will disappear. Even aging. That's a battle between what I cannot do and what I can do when I'm restricted to do. Men stay healthy, active, till age of 65. At the age of 65, the law says, pencil mark. This body cannot do. Man goes home within years, dies, because he cannot accept that such an intelligence, such a physical body now has become part of the scrap heap waiting to die. So he dies faster. This law of pension and making men to redundancy age of 50, 65 is 90% of the cause of the suffering of the man at this age. Once the government understand, using the new technology, you don't have to worry about the hunger, looking after physical dead bodies, more or less running around, and allowing a man to live as long as he likes, active, will decrease most of the illnesses of the world. We see what we call old age policy of the West. Psychosomatically, we sentence a man to death by aging at 65. Those men who stay active because they don't need pension, they don't need to look forward to stay home to get something to eat, they are active in their 80s and 90s. Physically active, mentally active, and being part of the structure. Look at all the politicians. 70s, 80s, that are still there, that are still participating in running up a structure. Businessmen who are self-employed and they don't need to rely on the government to give them a pension, that they have to pension themselves at 65, work in their 80s and 90s. Because this psychosomatic condition is not forced on them. Pension at the age of 60 creates its own psychosomatic death sentence for a man. If government understand this, and if we extend the freedom of the age to the point of the man's ability to physically do, men will live better life, men will live longer life, men will participate in the structure of their life in a deeper way, where they gathered more experience, and it will change the health policy from nations who are burdened with a pension. Pension should be an addition to what they can do, not a condition that they can live under. Then it'll change a lot of policies. It change a lot of things. And we see this now with the development of the new technology systems, which we put on and will increase in what we call development, like the headset you see. We take that barrier out. We open the dimension of the soul, the energy within the body of the man, that the psychosomatic 4-hour session, 5-hour session between left and right will disappear. Brain finds a balance, body finds a balance, and the transition will not come to touch the physical dimension. And 1 hour a week is enough to create that condition. And this is how now you understand Keshe Foundation systems are so effective. Those who come on it and they don't want to let the abuse to go, they come and nothing happened to me. The ones which we give you the sessions to come, everybody else feels something, but nothing happens to me because you have lowered the position of the field to the center. Secondly, you are too physical dimension. In a way, you don't allow your emotions, and then you end up with a physical dimension of problems in the time to come. It's very easy once you understand the knowledge, how to use the knowledge for betterment of mankind. And this is why we are no good to pharmaceutical, because we understand the structure of the illness through psychosomatic. Any other question?
Okay, thank you for that. Alessandra in the Q&A here in our Zoom says, good morning, Mr. Keshe. I wanted to ask why many products that are purchased in the online store, in their description, it is said that the use of the product is personal. Why can't it be shared with other people? What is the technical reason?
It's exactly what I explained part of the teaching of today and other parts. The pieces you buy, it becomes part of you. It's not a arm patch or a face patch you put on. You exchange energy between you and it. Now you give it to somebody else that they exchange energy on top of you with it. Next time when you use it, you take part of the energy which they have. They have a cancer, they have something else, psychosomatic. They exchange energy. These are not medical system, these are wellness system, these are a structure of the energy transfer. It's not a heat patch you put on to heat it up. We always recommended pain pen, keep it to yourself. And if you understand the principle of the plasma, your body is one half of the yin and yang, and the patch is another. So this is the reason. It is not something you just put in and the pain goes. You exchange energy with it. It doesn't give you energy from the patch. You take from it, but what you don't need, it goes in there. And if you understand this, you understand why we advise you not to. Any other question? You have to, those of you who work with us with Obesos, you understand, we always tell you when you finish using it, put it on the system back to bring it to zero, to bring it balanced, because it exchanges everything with the center automatically. And energy dissipates in, become part of the universal energy in the system. It's the same with when you join us on the wellness centers. Every time we switch off from the line, we go back to zero. We cannot transfer one condition to another. Any other question?
Okay, we have a couple of online store questions from Lasardio in YouTube. Is there any news on the delivery of the power unit, that is the electric and gas unit?
Yes, we are in a process. We don't want to go into much detail. Yes, it's all on the way. Most of the products which is part of the patent, not only this, of the Keshe Foundation, will appear in the market in the next few months and couple of years. What we explained, if you go to the, as I said last week, when you go to the pattern, you see freestanding gas cooker, all that. Now the commercialization of it will start in the next few months. Actually, maybe sooner than that. But our partners are a part of a larger structure. They have to do a lot of things before it comes up. That's why in the opening of the second part, I explained those of you who become shops or become distribution point for the Keshe Foundation product, these products all become added as part of the product you can, deliver. Very soon you will see the gas cookers which come out, which you use in the house as a self unit, one freestanding unit, which means once you buy a cooker from this new development, you never need to look for a gas supply. It's freestanding for the life of the system of 10 years, 20 years. Once you buy the new fridge freezers, which comes as a part of the Keshe Foundation technology, you don't need to connect it to any power supply. And the new generation of the fridge freezers you will see in the market coming as part of the KF product is totally different than the fridge freezer systems you are used to today. Square boxes and rectangular boxes will become a thing of the past. And the technology will be introduced as a KF plasma systems. And it will be right across all the products. You see the KF, and then what we call our partners will be, because that'll be the sign of Keshe Foundation plasma technology, which is used in these new systems. And we are on the way. We are far deep into it, and you'll know our collaborators are some of the largest organizations in the world. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. We have another question about the online store. from Alessandra in the Q&A here. Is it possible to make the payment phase on the online store easier? Because it often happens that many people give up. Thank you.
I have to ask those IT guys who put it up. We have a problem on our shop. We know the problem. And now that we are becoming part of the bigger structure, most probably we implement their structure in ours. It comes out of trust of the knowledge seekers and thinking knowledge seekers who come to help us know what they are doing, and then we hit the ground. The history why the online shop is in 2-3 parts in the mess is we tried for 18 years to sort it out, and it has cost us maybe hundreds of thousands, not tens of thousands up to now. It's taken us 5 years to sort this mess. A few years ago, a knowledge seeker supposedly came to us and he rewrites the whole shop and the structure of the Keshe Foundation. And that time the webmaster brought him in, and we always follow the advice of our webmasters. And this guy was absolutely useless. And he's created so much mess. We ended up with 15 servers in Holland. Different part of the shop and the things in different servers, they wouldn't match. And it took our webmasters, what we call IT people, now 5 years just to transfer and close half of this. He created such a mess that we still haven't managed to sort out, and we have to change totally to another. We lose part of our what they call it, information. And I think it'll be another 2 or 3 years. This is what we took everything out of the knowledge. It's not trust, but we don't accept any more knowledge seekers in the operation of the many things of the Keshe Foundation. They don't carry the expertise. They're just good knowledge seekers, and they don't understand what they do, and we pay so much, and then it has created this mess. We are aware of this problem, and we're trying to sort it out, most of it. But it's different programs overlapping onto each other to clean up the mess this guy started at 10 years ago. What was his name? And he left. We found out he can't do it. It was just, I think he spent most of his time on being high and actually doing something. And when we changed the webmaster, we realized that the extent of damage has been done. Our present IT team has been 4 years now, 5 years now. They're immigrating the servers from the mess was created to this, and sales is part of it. We cannot solve it, but soon should be solved. We are aware of it. I'm aware of it because we keep on paying these bills for servers, programs to bring in, and the rest of it. But the head of the Keshe Foundation, we were talking very recently about it. It has to be sorted. She has decided to bring it to an end, all this mess. And soon, one way or another, with the collaboration of our new partners, we merge our system into their system, or we take their system to add to us. This decision was made by the IT and the head of the Keshe Foundation.
Okay, thank you. Let me see, let's get back to Renate in the Q&A here. There's a question from the German-speaking community. Okay, this gets a little technical, but I think you'll understand. Is there an angle in which the moon can be located in which it can appear transparent to us due to the radiation or field, and or we can only see the plasma body?
We see it in a way, partially that way sometimes, or it gives the illusion of being seen that way. It's like when you can see the moon during the daytime. I'm sure most of us have seen this in the sky. We look and say, oh, that's the moon in the middle of the lunchtime. That kind of translucent through interaction of the different strength fields on the upper atmosphere gives us that invisibility but visibility of the object. And yes, it can be done. And there are points that you do not see. You can wear or be, I have to tell you something which if you remember 2 or 3 years ago, we released the glasses that many of you bought, and you gave us information, feedback that led to the part of the Obiso's development. In the near future, we will release another set of glasses, the same structure of glasses, where you will see through the structure of the physicality of the entity, or in a way you see the energy fields of, or what you call the soul of. The material for this we are producing is on the process. Actually, early this morning, I was putting the request for additional material for this, what you call vision unit, to be completed in next maybe 2 months. This vision unit will come out of our partners in China as part of the new eye development for change of vision, for replacing cataracts operation and that kind of thing. It'll come through our medical application with our partners who are a registered, well-known medical company in the world. And this will be part of that process. And using these new systems, you will see through vision, feel the strength of the planet or object. Is not aura, but is interaction of the fields of. In a way, we extend the vision beyond the lens that allows in restoring energy back for the lens and the eye and the neural system to repair themselves. It's a very advanced technology, extremely advanced technology. And as I said, part of the new product range will be this unit. Will be an eyeglass unit, very much like skiing glasses, but with the potential to remedy through certified systems which come from a medical company, a structure which Keshe Foundation will operate through, which means we provide the technology, we provide the know-how, and the tests will be done in hospitals, licensed hospitals of the company we are into partnership to become. And we use their facilities of the hospitals across the nation and the structures they have and the laboratories and the systems they have to test these systems out, which changes the no need for operation. These are medical systems, which is the Keshe Foundation Medical. It's part of the Obesos section, which will come in conjunction with the medical companies, major medical company or corporations, which now become part of the Keshe Foundation and the structure of the delivery of technology. And then as part of this, we envisage you should be able to see the energies of the units of entities. If I put an apple in front of you, see the energy structure of the apple in a vision, not in the emotion level. You can see it, and in the vision you can transfer it yourself. I reckon this within the next 2 years, 2 years, will be in the market through the collaboration of our collaborators, which are one of the major medical system producers in the world. Any other question?
Okay, Renate had a second question. When I look at Sirius, the star, it is the only star, sorry, my eyeglasses are actually several, that appears to be to us in different colors, actually the whole rainbow, and more rarely red. Does this have to do with the angle of the radiation, or is it more a kind of refraction of light?
It's the inner system construction of the material, be it the planet, be it the apple, be it the solar system. It's the composition of the interaction of the fields of the inner sanctums that creates this. In a matter of physical condition, these, if are separated, create the rings like the ring of Saturn. In the field strength, you get the interaction of the colors, as you call it. And then it gives you the identity of the composition of the central, the structure of the planetary or a solar system. Any other question?
Okay, from Ike in the Q&A. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Question. That soul that ended up in hell, basically as dust or stone, is there a chance that it could come out of that hell state into a sort of heaven state? And I am assuming that heaven is where the soul continues its creation.
Yes. But a long journey and a lot of accidents, coincidences. You got to understand, I refer to this a lot because it has a lot of meaning if you understand. It says, even the stone has a soul. Where did that soul come from? That created that stone. Any other question?
Okay, from Ed, who asks, last week you spoke of putting the seed of love within the soul of the man to attract the love of the creator, to understand the process of creation. Could you speak more about putting that seed of love within the soul of the man?
If you understood the first part of the teaching of today, was part of the teaching of last week and part of the teachings of a couple of weeks ago. You take an apple and the energies within that apple is that 20% which absorbs the energy 80% from the environment. You create that love within the heart of the man, within the physical structure of the man, to be that 20%. Where do you think the other 80% will come from? And part of that energy, which is the energy of the energy level in the strength of the love within the heart of the man, which is 20%, you can imagine how much love man receives from his creator, and is still ignorant. And yes, we do accept. We receive it because we create the strength within our dimension of physicality. We eat an apple to create that 20%. We create the emotion of love, which is that 20% to absorb the emotion of the essence of the emotion of creator, the balance of the 80%. And we are still denying it and ignorant of it. As I always say, ignorance is a blessing. And this is a blessing. Because then we don't mature to understand the love of the creation. But we just tap into it because we trap that 20 that we can abuse it. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question from Gatwa here, our Universal Council member from Kenya. And it's a bit long, but we will, I'll do my best here. He says, I'm sending my questions in two parts due to size. Part one, good morning, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for all your enlightening teachings over the last 10 plus years and for your freely giving your plasma science and technology to the world in exchange for global peace. Now, a few questions. Background, reports by a highly respected geopolitical journalist claim that the Israelis IDF recently sent an F-35 plane loaded with a nuclear bomb for an EMP attack on Iran, but the plane was shot down by the Russian Air Force as it left Jordanian airspace. Other subsequent reports claim that the Russian Air Force actually shot down 4 Israeli planes that were headed for Iran's EMP nuke attack. The said Israeli intended attack was in response to the Iranian retaliatory attack on the 13th of April against Israelis' earlier illegal attack on Iranian consulate building in Damascus that killed the 7 IRGC officers on the 1st of April. Okay. And part two, other reports from India indicate that Iran recently unveiled a scalar plasma-based weapon that can shoot down stealth jets, including F-35s. All the above reports have caused some confusion as some political analysts agree, while others disagree with the claims of the Israeli IDF having sent the nuclear bombs against Iran and the loaded F-35s downing by the Russian Air Force. My questions: what really happened? And if the F-35 jet or jets were shot down as claimed, how safe are the nuclear bombs that went down with them? And how safe is the world from nuclear attacks in the future?
There is a lot of claims, and there are a lot of counterclaims, and there are a lot of facts. You have to understand, if you listen to wider news last week about these attacks on Iran, we saw in Isfahan, we saw in Iraq, and we saw in Syria, were not targeted on Iran. These were targeted to bring the Russians into a bigger game. Israel was just a pre-planned by the Americans to pull the Russians into the war. The reason, the defense technology and defense mechanism for all the 3 sides hit were provided by Russian anti-aircraft missiles and radar technology. They wanted to dismantle this radar technology that on the secondary attacks which Iran will retaliate will hit Iran, Iraq and Syria without any defenses. The target of these simultaneous attack on 3 sides was the Russian radar system and defense, which has been made responsible for these areas. And Russians have responded accordingly. It's not that the Russian hit the Israeli aircrafts, but the systems to defend Isfahan, nuclear centers to defend the Iraq section and the Syria was part of the defense technology was paid for years ago. So intercepting these aircrafts was part of the design of the system. It's defense system of Iraq. It's the defense system for these locations, which is like Israelis buying Scud missiles from America and the Saudis, Iranians, and in these locations, these were bought from the Russia. So it's ultimately Russian technology, which is paid for defense and the Scud missile use. There are a lot of claims in what we saw. We have different understanding. Some of these attacks were done by small remote drones, which the Israeli agents launched from nearby Isfahan. They did not come over land. The size of these drones does not allow long flights from Israel to Iran. So these are the Israeli agents which they work within Iran, and they flew and they created this diversion. At the same time, their agents delivering these things. But in essence, what was, and then Iranian claimed they brought down a few drones, was in a way internally they have infiltrated Iran territory by their agents. And that's why they could not be detected over a wide range of the crossing. And those who flew for these as decoy were intercepted, delivered as was supposed to do. So the game of, you would say, Russians missiles brought down these planes is part of the Scud missiles of Russia defense technology, which is sold to Iran, and its job is to do what it did. But Israelis, with the cooperation with Americans, chose the weapons and the places to hit to bring the Russians into game, and it didn't work because Russia, China, and Iran were aware of such a thing possible, and we're sitting now with some damaged radar system which will be repaired in the next 3 to 6 weeks in all the locations. But the damage is these small rockets, these small drones within Iran was supposed to engage the Iranian defense system, that the rest will come from far distance, reloaded by Americans and the Israeli fuel tankers, but got intercepted, and we see what we see. We have come to a stalemate at the moment since this attack. Iran is not responding. They have made their marks. Israelis and Americans got to a stalemate. We have to see the next step. Where we saw destroying first alarm system and defense and radars has been part of the operation of the Americans. We saw it the first time in Yugoslavia, we saw it in Iraq, we saw it in Syria. They go to eliminate what we call the alarm systems, the defense system, and then once they do this, is the belly is up, they can do whatever they like. This time they cannot manage to do it. This was a joint venture by both Americans and Israelis, fueling overhead. The Americans were aware of it. They knew what's going to be carrying out and intercepted. But it showed a very big weakness in Iran national security space zone, and will be remedied very soon. Using what we call new technologies is on the card. We will see new defense systems, electronic systems will come into operation. American, for the first time a few days ago, showed what Keshe Foundation announced years ago. This part of our technology they use, but it's actually at its infancy, where we said the ships will be bathtubs and whatever. Americans tested a new system in Nevada very recently, in the past week, through Lockheed Martin, where they can paralyze all the electronics, what do you call it, computers and everything else in the building. There's no collateral damage, no man damage, but physically. But this is limited because it needs huge amount of energy, where we will show the counterpart of this very soon, where it brings peace, not another defense, where there is something I explained to our partners in defense very recently, past few weeks and days. And it is, does not matter what they make. F-16, F-35, F-1000, B-12 with this and that in it, delivering laser beams, laser fusion beams, whatever they call it. These are all matter state. And to be able to deliver even this, what we call multiple point disabling the system like computers or whatever, needs a huge electronic system, huge system inside B-20, what do you call it, the B bombers. They replace it with these things, B-52s. With the new plasma technology, you build whatever you like, at what speed you like. With a flick of a button, plasma is much stronger than matter state, and they fly, they drop like flies. This is important to us as a defense technology in the space, as you call it, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago. Even a stone has a soul. In a deeper space, when we have what we call asteroid, whatever, higher speed, stone, whatever, coming towards us, we don't hit it like the American tried a few months ago with a nuclear, trying to, a nuclear warhead or a bomb to derail the asteroids to coming towards the Earth. We elevate the soul of the stone in the expansion and dimension of the point of satisfaction. It's a different technology. And any man-made B-52, laser beam, whatever, is so low in field strength and the structure that is not a worry. One of our biggest worry is, and it's a strong point for our work, is whoever we give this technology to will become superior power point anywhere in the world. Chinese, Americans, Iranians, or whatever. We are negotiating for all to receive it at the same time. Iranians are a few steps ahead. They are testing. Chinese are testing. Americans are testing. In my meeting with the Chinese military, I explained to them, with this test last week, you're belly up. They can deliver on any ship in the east coast of China, paralyzing. But understanding the new technology coming in, you launch 1,000 B-52s with these machines on it. Flip of a finger, the whole atmosphere, environment within the United States can be neutralized. These planes will fly, will drop like flies. We give technologies, we discuss technologies with governments, but we are aware of superiority of one brings arrogance to them too. And this is part of the problem we have, especially sitting in Iran, especially sitting in Washington. The collaboration with them brings them an arrogance that they can beat the other. We cannot get the Chinese and the Americans on the same table. That collaboration brings prosperity. American financial structure does not allow this. Chinese military structure doesn't allow this, and there's a conflict in that point. Iran sits between the two. And we're trying to, but Iran becomes another arrogant point. In that point, when they carry it, they use it in the name of whatever false claim to be the guardians of God's will, and then that creates a problem. At the moment, for me sitting in this position, talking to all three forces has been the dilemma for the past few months. How to bring these three devils on the table that they all become angels. America sees, we used to have a empire of Persia. Then we had the British Empire. Now America is playing the game to become the world empire and all the nations. This is one of our problems. And we have the power to do. As we just heard recently in the past few days, it's possible, very possible, that IMF moves on the United States to control their spending. Because they're just printing papers and nothing to back it. If any other nation in the world does this, we've seen if IMF comes, you cut this, you cut that. Americans do whatever they like. IMF is under their control. Now IMF speaks for the first time. We saw it very recently. If we can curtail this part of unlimited spending, because we are America, we're going to be a superpower. Whatever we spend, Vatican pays for. When we capture in China, the asset become ours, we pay when the result comes. It's very much like, as I said before, you know, you're running a new development, new technology, and say when it's marketed, we'll pay for it. We put all the money into research till it's developed and marketed. Americans, they call it, when our democracy reaches China, we get hold of their gold reserves and all their assets that will pay the debts to whatever we borrowed from. We are creating the war to get the money to pay for the war we created. This is the pattern of the Americans since World War I. And we're trying to divert this. We're trying to put an end into it. And the best person to bring an end to this is, what do you call it? The last defeated American president, because he'll walk into this policy. You will understand in the future what I mean. So, it's not who and what was hit, it was what was the target of. They didn't go and hit Iranian centers somewhere, or like we saw in Syria, whatever. The attack of last week by the Israelis was directed directly to the Russians to bring them into play, and they failed to do so. And they received a warning from Chinese. Iran touched, China is in. Russia touched, China is in. And the almighty American cannot stand this. It takes less than 2 months boycott of material into America and receiving goods from America, that economy of the United States freezes. And the Chinese has set that up through different structures. You have to look at the bigger picture and understand what we were expecting that the Russians would get hit in this process. It was planned by the American, delivered by their proxy, Israel. And the hitting of, and what we saw, a small, what we call drones, which don't have the capability to travel all the way from Israel. They were launched just inside Iran by their agents as a decoy. Was responded back, but it opened a lot of weaknesses in the structure of Iran national security, which is getting remedied very fast. But Russians were paid to do this as part of the Scud missiles. When the Saudis paid 100 million to the Israelis to provide them with the Scud missiles and could not protect them from the attack from Houthis from the south, in Saudi they gave it back. Iran paid for this defense technology to the Russians. They paid for, they bought this defense system, and it was delivered. So now you understand where it comes from. It's not that the Russians hit. They were paid. We paid them years ago. And the whole of Iran nuclear defense. Iran is good in making scientists the rockets and the rest. But Iran is very weak in defense technology. They've never developed it, there was a big mistake in the structure of Iran military. And they gave this to the Russians because it proven to be more effective. And what you say has been hit, it shows its effectiveness. But it was played. All three spots, Iraq, Syria, and Iran, was targeted on the Russian radar system and not on Iran or whatever. It was just to put them in, and it didn't work. It was a massive failure from the American Israelis for the next game. Now we have to see what will be the next game. Any other question?
We have a question about the delivery status of the cosmic rays materials.
We have enough to stop delivery. I was talking to one of the knowledge seekers on Monday. We are looking for the right container. We are looking at our team. When even I was in China, I asked you if those of you who were in China saw the Chinese gave dry gases in the beautiful containers. We are looking only for the containment. The material is ready. We have to contain it in a way and seal it that it cannot be touched. And this has a value. If you hold it and comes into these values, more and more increases in value. We have, I think, around about 20, 25 grams. It's a slow production to start delivering. But it's just our containers, and I hope that our team can resolve this in the next week or two. One of the ways to do it is to seal it in a resin they've come up with, and this has a value. You can give it to your grandchildren to sell it for much more in the future. It's not just for research. We produce between 5 and 7 grams. That's all we can do a week. It's not a simple system. We have enough, and once they resolve the containment, it'll be shipped out, and you'll receive it. Any other question?
We had a question in YouTube from Stephen regarding, I think you've taught about this actually probably several times now, Mr. Keshe, but he says, could moving oxygen in and out through the nose differ from the mouth? And the same with the left and right nostril breathing. Can it function as a switch, as moving the air above, under to the left and right of the medulla ambigula is a useful thing to practice?
You can practice whatever you like, depends what works on you. And you got to understand it's a misconception. I have to accept this call, please, as I explained to you. Can you take over, please?
Okay. All right, we'll put that question on hold for a few minutes and await Mr. Keshe to come back, see what he says about that. But I do know that he's taught about the position of the soul and the position of the various other organs of the body that are near the nose and throat, and has taught about the I think he taught about the left and right nostrils as well. I remember that question was asked some time ago. But we'll see shortly. Stephanie had a question in the Q&A. Are the glasses with dicyanin? And then she goes on to say that the chemical is forbidden for years, but that you could see something like plasma or energy. It's invented by the Russians. Well, perhaps we can look that up in the meantime here, because probably Mr. Keshe doesn't know about that, and I highly doubt that the Keshe Foundation used a forbidden chemical in their materials. We do it live here. Dicyanide, it sounds toxic to start with, the cyanide molecule.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I had to accept this call. It could be another one, but I explained to you earlier on. I need to accept this call. Come on, give me the question. What was the question?
Okay, let me get back to it here. Stephen had a question in the YouTube about, could moving oxygen in and out through the nose differ from the mouth? And the same with the left and right nostril breathing. It can function as a switch. Is moving air above and under and left and right of the medulla ambigula a useful thing to practice? And you mentioned you can do whatever practice works for you, basically.
Yeah. This is how it is. Anything else?
We were just looking at Stephanie's question, who she says, are the glasses with dicyanin? Did the special glasses have dicyanin in it? And I was just looking that up to try to get a head start on what dicyanin is. And she goes on to say the chemical is forbidden for years, but that you could see something like plasma or energy with this. It was invented by the Russians. Apparently, you put it between two lenses and it's able to alter the fields that you can see.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't say anything. No comments.
Okay, let's pass on that for now without getting into all the technical details of it.
Yep.
Let's see, we just got a couple more lined up here. From 777 Paulina, who says, thank you, Mr. Keshe, and thank you, Rick. Recently, Elon Musk stated that the next generation of Tesla cars will be a lot cheaper. Is this the plasma reactors being part of this development?
I don't know. We put an offer for $1 for Elon Musk. We will offer the $1 for the whole of Tesla cars. Most probably will be. It's very serious. We as part of our cooperation and with what we call which we moving on with, is delivery of the cars without batteries. And the technology is, what do you call it, will be delivered. We try to show this in Iran. I'm planning a few breakthrough technologies to be shown in Iran, and this will be part of it, putting an end to what we call electric cars. It's huge. You got to understand the implication of the, as I said a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, just to make the batteries. The biggest problem will come, they're forcing electric cars, and the problem will come once we switch, there will not be enough supply to supply the batteries. There's not material enough to do. They're pushing it, the reserves have been calculated, we can do so many. Then they go for recycling. But another biggest problem we've seen on the streets of London and in England, the rest of the world is keeping it very, very quiet, is that a number of electric cars are burning down. In the British policy, fire brigade has become that when there used to be a fire with a petrol car, you've seen them, they come and they put water and everything. The policy with the new British policy regarding electric cars is let it burn where it is. But it has risen another concern, that the toxics produced by burning of these cars on the streets of London and England creates a huge health hazard, which they do not know how many cancer agents will be released or has been released by it. The British press were very open about this till a few weeks ago. When one of these electric cars burned somewhere, they went on and they showed fire brigade doesn't even go near it. They just stand off, keep people as far distance as they can, till the battery burns out. And they have found a bigger problem now. Insurance companies in England are facing it, is that the penetration of the chemicals after the burn on the streets of England is deep in, and now they're not asking anymore for, you had a claim to change the asphalt. The insurance companies are now facing in England for a full in-depth repair of the street, till the point which the chemicals are removed. These are not pushed into the front, but now is part of the problems we see, for example, with these electric cars. And secondly, is the supply of, and now we hear they're going to be very cheaper. You have to understand, as we said last week, who's behind these things. Moss is tracking Keshe Foundation step by step. And becoming cheaper is not just the batteries, they are testing the same thing. As I said earlier on, Americans now have come up with this paralyzing electronics, computers and the rest. Americans are heavily studying Keshe Foundation technologies step by step. Ian Moss released the Keshe Foundation maggraph system in a small system. We saw it, but it became failure. It didn't pick up. When he starts working correct with Keshe Foundation, he will see the development of some of the technologies working with. And as I said, very soon they offer $1 for Tesla cars, just for the name of the most beautiful man on this planet as a scientist, to keep his respect. And you will see it. We have there's a history in 1980s. Americans got involved in titanium, and the price of the titanium went to the sky. And a lot of people went to buy in titanium that they make a lot of money. And then a collaboration between the Americans and the Russians released thousands of tons into the market, and the market overnight collapsed, and all the people who were hoping to become rich with titanium went bankrupt. They lost everything they had. Electric cars are up that way, but you will see the emergence of the new plasma cars with Keshe Foundation collaborators very soon, and Tesla cars won't worth more than $1. You'll have a problem to get rid of the batteries which these cars carry to be able to put the plasma systems in them. That's how bad it is. It's better not to buy and to pay for the change than buy a system which is already converted. We showed this system in Iran. For sure, part of the Iran exhibition will be what we call the KF plasma car systems. And on top of it's part of the same technology with the flight system. So you can do, but those of you who are very enthusiastic about electric cars, you've got to understand very soon you have to pay a lot of money to get them out of your cars. And the other thing is, these have a cycle life. The car with the battery will go to the dumps. That because you will not be able to buy the batteries if we carry on the same way. The production is not there. The raw material for them does not exist economically, and figure-wise, we know the production of the raw material, and the raw material will not match. If you're buying an electric car, my advice to you is, please keep your old car in the garage because they'll do better than the electric cars. Any other question?
Let me see here. From
Yeah,
Hassan.
we can go
No, we're almost there, Mr. Keshe. Hassan in the Q&A says, why is the media flooded with Palestine problem when nobody is talking about the 18 millions of deaths in the Congo, which occurred in less than 30 years, and which is beyond the Holocaust, and nobody is doing nothing to stop it? Thank you.
Have you ever been to Congo? And have you seen the wealth of the nation in minerals? And have you seen the size of the country? And have you seen the dictatorship in the country? And how, if you understand, I used to have an office in Kinshasa. I used to travel quite frequently to Kinshasa before 2000, when I packed the whole business with Keshe Foundation, start of Keshe Foundation. If you live in Kinshasa and you happen accidentally, because of the wealth you have, position you have, near the presidential palace, when the president goes to sleep lunchtime, they close the road that there is no noise, that the president can sleep. 2-3 kilometers around the palace, there is no traffic, that His Excellency might wake up with the noise of a car. Then you look at the size of the nation. You can fit the whole of Western Europe into Congo, and you still have land surplus left. France, Germany, the whole of the Western Europe, you can fit into it. It's the largest nation in Central Africa, controlled by dictatorship of the Kingship of Belgium. No policy is passed, nothing is done if the King of Belgium, because it's not owned by Belgium as a nation. Congo is owned by the king. It's a big difference. And the amount of funds which come out of Congo into Belgium is uncalculable. The wealth of Belgium, most of it comes from the minerals from Congo. The ambassador of Congo into Belgium is decided by the Belgian, and most of them are the most corrupt people in there. You don't want to know, I used to work in that embassy. Then you have the minerals within this nation. It's the most richest mineral nation in the world. And everybody is fighting for part of these minerals. And most of the war is on those bases. And then in part is mixed with religion Christians, different sect of Christians, Muslims, and the rest of whatever you see in the war is a civil war for the wealth by names. The same thing happened to Sudan. They split Sudan north and south, Christians one side, Muslim one side, and the biggest apartheid took half, and we see which nations taken more. The one which is on the coastline came to agreement rapidly with the Chinese, and they became very wealthy. You see the Paris of Africa in Sudan. Congo doesn't have that. They cannot sort it out because it's landlocked, centralized. It has only one pipeline landlocked, which is the other side of the river, of the Congo River. On the other side is the Congo Brazzaville. And so everything goes through a bottleneck into the port. When you are in Kinshasa and you see trucks coming to go through Kinshasa sometime to go to the port, from the color of the wheel, the dirt on the car, you can tell which side of the country they're coming in. Coming from the gold area, coming from diamond area, coming from the copper area. And we used to sit in the hotel in center of Kinshasa, sometimes going to expat restaurants. We could say, you know, we say, oh, this is coming from there. Somebody has brought a lot of gold in. It's on the way to out. And this is the problem with this nation. And nobody knows how many millions are killed internally by people trying to rule this country. And this guy sitting in the center gets weapon, the latest in the world, by the Americans, by the Russians, by the Chinese, everybody else, for these mining areas. It's not a national, it's a guerrilla attack inside for the wealth of the nation. In 1990s, actually earlier than, sometime it started earlier than that, there was a mine in Congo. Anglo-French company cleaned up this mine to the point, dug the ground, it's an open mine, and took all the copper out, which was financially worth it. Those times copper was $400 or $500 a ton. And when they finished with this, they gave it back to Congo. They gave it back to the village people because they took everything out over decades. The water filled this mine with water, it became a lake. And because of the chemicals released by the mining, it created a lot of death in the area and a lot of very much chemical warfare between the nature and the rest. It's a huge lake. At that time, Chinese came in. They gave to Congo with an agreement to empty this lake to the ground. For it, they will build a 1,500 kilometer fast track road from the mine to the port. With it, they gave 50% of whatever they dig out of the gold, what they call it, copper, to the Kinshasa government. 50% in cash that the president could put in his pocket, 50% in industrial collaboration, civil programs, which this was 1,000, if I remember correctly, schools to be built by the Chinese to teach the, what do you call it, the Africans, for educating Africans. And 100 latest hospitals, modernized hospitals in Africa was built on the other 50%. And for every one Chinese worker they bring from China to empty, to develop and extract the copper from when the Anglo-British left, 4 African workers will be employed and paid the fair wages. And the price of the copper went from 400, 500 a ton to $5,000 and $6,000 a ton. Chinese won because they literally got the gold or the copper more or less at the price of the less than the $200-300 a ton, and became one of the main supplier of copper to Chinese economy since mid-90s. A lot of people fought for this mine. And a lot of people, hundreds of thousands, died because of it. And this is part of that, millions dead. It's economical working. We used to operate in deep mining area of this country. That's why I used to go there quite a lot. I used to have one of the ministers and his wife were running my businesses in Africa for me. And I think one night if I stayed in a hotel, I always, by order of the president, had to stay with the family in their homes, secure homes, the minister's home. And we used to have a lot of contacts with these. That's why I used to work a lot through the embassy in Brussels. And we studied this with the, what do you call it, Congolese government, and how the opinion of the government is nothing to do with us. It's just local killing each other for the wealth of the nation. And then they're getting armed by different people, but internally, it's an internal guerrilla war for the assets. It's very much like cartels of South America. And the benefit of it is what we call minerals, which they get hold of and they sell to this, what they call blood diamonds. It comes metal diamond, mineral blood is one of the phrases used in Africa, in Congo. Whoever controls these mines of copper, zinc, rare earth materials has advantage, government advantage outside in the world. And this is how they kill each other. It's not a war of dividing a country, it's a war on the mineral resources. I spent a long time in Kinshasa. I know the structure and cannot be stopped as long as the West is looking for cheap minerals and control of minerals. A lot of Chinese rare earth material comes from Congo. And these people are rooted such a, it's just taking over in the name of the Christians and the Muslims, and then gold mines and silver mines and everything else. It's not considered as a war, it's a war of thugs with each other. And they change side. This is one of the biggest problems. I was talking to them that time, mid-1990s, I was very active in Kinshasa. The problem hasn't changed. It's just these heads of these groups, what they call thugs, change a side overnight. Americans pay them $100 more per ton. They go to the Americans, and then the British arm them, and then the French arm them, and then the Chinese arm them, and then for another 100, they move across to the other side. It's crazy because $100 a ton, when you ship 10,000 tons, is a lot of money. And they ship, they switch, and they kill each other. It's a guerrilla killing, not it's not even a civil war. It's a guerrilla war for resources of the nation. They're killing each other. And they take slaves from all over Central Africa. Central Africa, nation of Central Africa, poverty of it comes because a lot of children from there are stolen to feed these, to run these mines. It was a huge drain on African nations. The amount of children are stolen, kidnapped to go taken into these areas of Congo. And then these children are fed back partially into the Pitfall groups in Central Geopolitical Europe.
So, Mr. Keshe, will the implementation of the transmutation process essentially eliminate that sector of
the creation of the material production is part of the solution, but has other, because I discussed this with some military people recently. We have to monitor in how we release technology, especially for material production, into the world. And this is one of the main concerns in my negotiation and my thinking in the background is we can deliver as much copper as a company needs. If you look at this material enhancement units, we just need to put a conveyor belt on the bottom, and you can take a ton of copper a day out of the system. Cost maybe $10 a ton. You put this into Huawei. You put this into cities where Chinese produce raw material for electronics. This means there is no need for what nano-material from Africa. This brings the economical situation for China, which controls through economy the countries it operates with. Because now they don't need to buy copper, they don't pay the nation because they don't need their copper to lose their influence. But at the same time, once it's implemented for certain sectors, this will affect the economy of the nation inside. Suddenly gold mines have no value, copper mines have no value. So these wars, these fighting with no customers is no one exist. It brings a peaceful position. But China is in a dilemma. I know this because it's on the table of understanding from day one. Once they produce more raw material, then there's no need to import. Then they lose the financial control over the countries. Then we see new kinds of anarchy because there is no food to feed the nation, because these rebels, these bandits still feed their people. From the money they receive, part of it goes feeding the people, not to die, just enough to mine. The change in the technology we brought has a lot of implications, and I try to discuss this with the governments, that they understand what's the implication of. When you produce the materials, you just ask for when it's going to be delivered, we can change this in a different way to production of what you call copper. You don't need to import. It changes the shipping because a lot of freight is not needed anymore. This is why I even discussed before we become part of the United Nations structure very soon, because the delivery of this new technology will brings new problems for governments, controlling, financing, and a lot of other things. And this is what I keep on telling you. It's not easy to wear these suits and sit on these chairs at the Keshe Foundation, unless we become totally money-centered. We get as much money as we can, and not live in palaces and, you know, as we say in English, screw the rest. Then it's a different way. But if you're going to run a fair civilization with a new technology, these are the jobs which is on my shoulder. And I keep on reminding governments. And I put them against each other, be it military-wise, being economical-wise, being technological-wise. And these are part of, I just explained in a very simple way. In the next few months, you will get a freestanding gas cooker, which you don't need to pay. You give this to an African, you give to anyone who has no burns wood and has no fire. Now they have fire to cook, to feed themselves. In a physical state, what's going to happen to the state of Qatar? What's going to happen to 400 billion, whatever, million cooperation between Iran and China for gas export. There are implications and a huge financial application for the technology we are delivering. And you can't be a bull in a china shop just because you have it go on the stamp everybody. It has to be negotiated step as you show it. Implication of it is the next step. Why don't we see the Keshe Foundation energy defense to be used by Iran against Israel? We play fair. If I give everything into Iran, you won't have a peaceful time with these guys. We beat Israel, who's next? The state of fairness is not there yet. And the most ridiculous one, which is passed under your nose without you knowing, Americans dropping food for the Palestinians, pushing for Palestinians, and the rest of the world. And when it came to United Nations last week to vote for an independent state of Palestine that they could help, they are the only country we vetoed it. Because if they become a nation, then there's a war between two nations and they have to take side. This way, we are on one side, we do what we like. How can you help a nation, a people, who you sell the bombs to be bombed and then feed them and then ignore them, their own nation? We have first to sort out America, then we bring fairness to the rest. And this is part of the structure of the Keshe Foundation work. Any other question?
Even their dropping of the aid killed people. And even do that right without killing.
Yeah, I'll be looking at the feeding station of the Palestinians next very soon, and then I will tell you how we see it in Keshe Foundation Research Center. Any other question?
Well, I think you might have answered, I think, the last question, which is, find it here in our YouTube.
Thank you very much. And I hope we'll be here next week to still learn a little bit, teach a little bit, and share a little bit.
The last question was from Dean. How are we doing with the peace process? And I think you've answered that on several levels, but maybe you have just one final thing you could say about that. How are we doing in the peace process?
Very bad. We got bad world of war leaders. Until we don't tame them, we still won't succeed. But we're working on it. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. All these wars, all these situations, making a lot of money for a lot of people. There is no business more profitable than killing business, from the church, which encourages it, to the man who makes the gun. And it's just to elevate the soul, teach, and people to become independent with it. We reach the position of maybe in the next 2 years, 3 years, when the Keshe Foundation become an app, this is the time when the pieces start. And you understand very soon what I mean. You want an apple, you touch an app on the Keshe Foundation communication system, which no one can control. And through cosmic plasmatic rays, you receive the apple energy, the emotion, and fulfilling the hunger. Then nobody can control to feed you. The same with every other things. And then we are on the path, but we need 2 or 3 years. It's a greed of the man, it's not the lack of knowledge or technology. And we'll see how we do with our partners in developing and sharing it. When you see the new, like, fridge and gas cookers with KF as a brand, plus the collaborating company, then you know the time has come. And that's not very far. Thank you very much for today.
Is there any last thing you'd like to say about the presentation tomorrow? Any instructions or things you'd like to?
The instruction is please be there on time. We try to be on time, as usual.
Which
we try
is
to be there with
9 a.m.
9
correct?
a.m. Central European time.
Mm-hmm.
We set you off and we disappear. The system will be running. We monitor everything in the background, and we take it from there.
Okay.
And see what we can do. And we go step by step. Thank you very much. And see you some tomorrow and some next week. And thank you for being there. Your existence allows the foundation and the work of us to exist. We are part of all, and we are part of some. And we are there collectively every day to change something new. Thank you very much. And see you next week.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you once again for another Knowledge Seekers Workshop here, number 535 in a row. Incredible. And for Thursday, April 25th, 2024. Next week's workshop will be into May already. It'll be May 2nd, so same time and place so far as we know. Our next public teaching workshop is the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace. And that's coming up on the following Tuesday, April 30th at the 4 p.m. Central European Summertime time slot. And that's with members of the Universal Council and support members. And members of the public are welcome to attend and listen in and have an opportunity for questions as well. Okay, I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you, everybody, for attending today and for being there in the background and for your questions. We'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit, music version, and bye for now.